All right, board. Microphone's on. I call to order the Torch Lake Township regular board meeting of August 19th, 2025 at 7 o'clock. Join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Sharon?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, board, when speaking, please move close to your microphone. Rita continues to tell me I'm failing at this, so we want to make sure that we're heard clearly for the YouTube streaming, and I request citizens who speak to adjust the height and stand close to their microphone. There will be two opportunities for citizen comments. I will be requesting individuals stay within the 4 minutes in both citizen comment sections and would appreciate everyone keeping their points concise. We will be following the township's policy 2.5E3, 2.6C related to citizens' comments. Individuals are not allowed to speak on the subject matter more than once. During the first citizen comment section, comments should be related to the items on the agenda only. The second citizen comment section shall relate to other matters unrelated to the agenda items. Citizen comments should pertain to specific issues, concerns, or policies they would like to bring to the board's attention. In addition, during board discussion or deliberation, citizens are not to interrupt the procedures of the board. The chair may call upon a citizen during either of these sections. I would request that comments are made respectfully to the board. We are here to discuss the township's business. To respect everyone's time, I strongly urge the board not to respond to public comment, but address them in a board comment section. Sometimes this is difficult, but this is not a debating stage between the township's residents and board members. We have township business to conduct, and it is required we do so effectively. If there needs to be follow-up from the board, I will direct the appropriate person to reach out to that individual. The documents on the website are aligned to the items on the agenda. These are draft documents to provide background information only. Board, we have one set of minutes to approve. Are there any changes to the minutes to the regular board meeting of July 15th, 2025?
I have none.
None? All right. Hearing none, I will make the motion to approve the July 15th, 2025 regular board meeting minutes. Is there a second?
A second.
It is moved and seconded to approve the regular board meeting of July 15th, 2025. If no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item is correspondence and announcements. Do we have it?
I have none.
All right. Next item is agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? If none, I have one. I want to add under new business a motion to approve a request to the Antrim County Road Commission to conduct a speed study on Northwest Torch Lake Drive. In doing so, I will remove item number 3 under board discussion, which was the speed study item to be discussed. Any other changes? If not, I make the motion that the agenda be accepted as presented with changes. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. It is moved and seconded that the agenda is accepted as presented with changes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We now move to citizen comments. Again, please respect the 4 minutes. Do we have anybody that wants to talk about an agenda item?
I've got the license plate readers.
We'll cover that with the,
You want to wait till the end on that?
yeah, that's not That's really not on the agenda.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, since we've got the deputy sheriff here, he'll be talking about that. We'll give that person a chance to ask questions.
Okay,
How's that?
sure.
All right. No other comments, then we'll move forward. We now move to consent agenda. Anyone wish to pull any of the reports?
I do not.
All right, hearing none, all reports are accepted by consent. Move on to the next item. Special reports. Sheriff, we'll let you jump in here. And no, we won't ask you about the 911 report.
Deputy.
Good evening. Thank you guys for your time today. I'm Detective Martin, Sheriff's Office. The sheriff and undersheriff have asked me to be here tonight to discuss the flock that they previously brought up at the last meeting. So as you're aware, the sheriff's office is rolling this out. It's a license plate reader system. We're following. So Grand Traverse has had this system for a couple of years now. We're just following kind of the motto that they started with. So Flock is a license plate reader. It's not a AI. It doesn't do facial rec. It doesn't even like look in the windows of the vehicle. The system is focusing on the metallic paint that's on your vehicle and the metallic paint that is in the lettering of the license plate. That is what it does. There's metallic paint, pigment in the paint, and that's what it focuses on. So the system is nationwide, approximately in the United States. There's about 85,000 cameras currently in the United States. In the state of Michigan, there's 468 departments currently that have this system. Everybody, you can have 4 cameras, or you can have, I looked today, the Flint PD has 60 cameras in the city. So like, it's a variation of what you want and how much you want to cover. Grand Traverse, what they did off the get-go is they started with 1 per township. And they basically showed the townships the results. They've had great success. We started as the sheriff's office started to look into it about March. We purchased a camera on forfeiture asset seizure money that we seized from drug interdiction. And we purchased a camera. It's called Falcon Flex. It's a portable camera that we move around the county. It can be placed on the back of a speed trailer. It can be put on a pole. It can be put somewhere that has power supply. So what it does is we set it up, and basically it just reads plates. Any plate that goes by it'll read and it'll store it. We can go in and we can look up these plates and see like what plates went by there. For instance, if there's a B&E on, say, Northwest Torch Lake Drive, and we had a camera in that area, around that area, we can go and we can find, obviously through our investigation, figure out the B&E happened at, say, 2 in the morning. That's when the alarm went off. We can search an hour before, we can search an hour after, and any plates that went by, we can investigate that as a lead. The system is meant to say this person is who did it. For instance, on another instance, we got our camera in March. I put it up, and within 2 weeks, April 4th, I received a tip that a female from Mansalon area was going to Muskegon. I put her plate in, knew it because I was doing surveillance on it, put it in, had them hit in Muskegon that night. We set up on her with criminal interdiction task force that we have set up, called those people, and we set up on the roads. We knew she was coming back. We actually interdicted her in Grayling, picked her up in Grayling. We sat on her for almost 5 hours before she actually came into the county, and we seized over 2 ounces of controlled substance out of the vehicle. 2 days later, same incident with a different guy that I was investigating, had a Muskegon hit, came back. We stopped him on his way back. We had half a pound of meth in the truck. So it within very short time, we've had great success on the drug problem. To do the whole system will greatly improve the crime that can be stopped in our county. Because if we have a camera at 88 and 31, and we have a camera, Elk Rapids has 2 cameras now. I think they're trying to get a 3rd on board. The people that are committing crimes on this side of the county, they have to get around the lake to go do crime somewhere else. So they will be picked up, and that's where like the B&Es and the larcenies and stuff, that is going to be critical to stop those crimes. A lot of people ask about the Fourth Amendment violation seizure. It's not a Fourth Amendment. Obviously, that talks about your seizures. We are not seizing anything when we put these cameras up. That license plate that's on your car, it's in a public place. It goes down a public road every day. Anybody from the public can view your plate. Anybody can follow you any day of the week. It's not a Fourth Amendment violation. So, like I said, the expense, we've looked at a million different avenues to try to find funds. We've talked about it. It was brought up at another township meeting. If down the road, if we could offset the cost eventually. Unfortunately, this year we tried to get on the Stone Garden grant. It's a grant through the Border Patrol. We missed it. Literally, we inquired about it the day that it opened, and it was basically open. The grant application was open for a week. So our plan is next year when it comes around, approach the county board about applying for the grant, and then we would be able to apply for grant money through the Border Patrol, which they're aggressively looking to expand and have access to LPRs because the federal government can't purchase them, but they would be able to have access to them. And then they would pay for it with this grant money. So we could explore avenues to pay, give a portion back or offset the cost of the townships. Somebody else also brought up a tribal grant, so we're looking into that. So there's a lot of different avenues as far as the years down the road that we can cover. Currently, the townships that are on board is Star Township just purchased one camera with possibly interest for more here in the near future. So then we have one Flex, and that camera, right now we're solely using that camera on 131 because that is a known corridor coming back. But our goal eventually is once the permanent cameras, which are called Falcon, they're just Falcons. It's not a portable. It goes on a pole. It's a 2 5/8 black pole. It's got a little solar panel on top. If you're in Elk Rapids, right there on Ames Street, you can see it. If anyone's down that way, be discreet. You don't know it's there. Our plan is to use the Falcon Flex to target areas that are problem areas. And so we'd be able to move it around. If we have speeding complaints, we can take it, put it right back on the speed trailer, or we could take the plate hit that's on the plate and correspond it with the internal components of the trailer. When the trailer's saying it recorded it, say at 80 mile an hour at this time, we can look on the camera and go, okay, it was this plate, and get it figured out. So does anyone have any questions? I know it's a lot in a short time.
You have one in Mansalona too, right?
Yep, we have the one that we have right now is in Mansalona. The one that is supposed to go in Star Township is in the permitting process right now. They have to go out and they have to misdig it and everything before they pound the post in the ground because there's utilities right there.
So that would be 3 in the county then.
Technically, with the ones that are with Elk Rapids that we have access to, because Elk Rapids did their own contract with FLOT, technically there's 5 in the county right now.
Okay.
So it's 3,000, right?
It's 3,000 per camera. So it all depends. Like for instance, like Star Township came and said, "Hey, we heard about this. We want to get on board." And the way we've done it is we've met with Flock's engineer. I spent almost half a day on the computer with their engineer that designs the layout. So there's different phases. Right now, if every township just wanted to do one camera, we've got a map with like one camera per township where we put them. For instance, Star Township's camera is actually like 10 feet into Chestonia Township, but it's because where the intersection is there, it is the most basically productive for the camera. You're going to get the most reads, and you have 4 roads that come together, and any southbound traffic we want to catch, so they're all funneling into that camera, and where it is they get the best base.
Right there on 131.
Yeah, for 131. So like, for instance, like another one we've talked about is like, if we get Custer Township on board, their camera would most likely be down on 131 facing north. So we know anybody that's coming into the county because they don't have many primary roads, so like that's where theirs would go. Because the cameras from Mansalone Township and then Kearney Township would catch anybody on 88 going either way. So it's quite a bit of like planning and laying it out, but for Torch Lake Township, the two that I know offhand is 88 and 31, and possibly one on 31 down a little farther, just so if we have traffic going south, we know that they either continued on to Elk Rapids or they stopped somewhere in between. So, and then,
Does that get it does it get the plate one way or?
it gets the plate one way and you can search the vehicle for the other way. So like if I know it's a Chevy pickup, blue in color with a topper or toolbox, I can search it coming the other way. It just won't have the plate. But once you figure out the plate going the one way, you can normally get it the other way. Like for instance, Charlotte County, they had a boat that was involved in a domestic up there. The guy was up there for Point Thunder. They knew he was around. They wanted to know when he went back south and left the area. I went in, I hit trailer because our camera's pointing north. And within about 2 minutes, they gave me the time frame when he figured he left Boyne City. I typed it in about 2 minutes, had his trailer, his truck, boat, and all on camera. So in Mansalone or about a Dollar General. So like it is, it's time consuming to use it because up until today, any of my target plates I wanted to search, I had to search daily. As of today, we want full access to the flock system. And so now I put a plate in that I know is a target plate. And if it goes to Muskegon, I instantly get a notification. So then that gives me roughly 2.5 hours to orchestrate getting the amount of people together to either get the vehicle stopped or figure out what we want to do with it from there.
So our doing this is really helping the sheriff. It really, it's for you guys.
This is an investigation lead tool. Obviously, we have many tools in the toolbox. We can get search warrants for tractor trucks. We can get search warrants for phones. But this is a less invasive way to investigate crime without going into search warrants and that. I mean, search warrants are search warrants and they're based on probable cause. But like you get somebody that says, hey, my neighbor's moving meth, and we put their plate in the flock and we see, they've been to Muskegon 4 times in the last month. Well, does your neighbor have any family in Muskegon? No, but we know Muskegon's a target city. We type it in and then there's an investigation lead tool that we've created. And then we go on further. We do surveillance. We do phone pings or tolls. Like tolls are a system that we use. You can get hold of the DA, you give them a phone number, they can run all the tolls, they'll know everybody that you've called. It doesn't give any information about like how long you've talked to them or anything. It literally just gives numbers. Now we have a system that we can take that phone number, that list of phone numbers, we put it into it, and we can identify if these people that are involved in possibly narcotics crimes are using their phone to communicate with known target dealer phone numbers in the city. So like it's a tool to further investigate a major problem that we have. I just added it up the other day for the sheriff. We're close to 700 grams of methamphetamine seized in this county to this date this year. That is a large amount. I mean, I predict if we keep going, by the end of the year, we'll be over a kilo of meth seized. So, as
So
many are aware, I just got my canine Zeke. He was donated to the department by community donation funds. I obtained him in May, and just alone since we've been on the road since the beginning of June, he's close to 80 grams of meth.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you bring your partner in when you're done here?
Yeah, I'll bring him in towards the end here, and as he's been on the road, the other night he got some cocaine off a guy that we investigated for delivery of cocaine and fentanyl back in the end of April. He was supposed to be working as an informant for us, and he continued to move narcotics, and he went to jail where he belongs.
So what is the maintenance and upkeep of that?
So the 3,000 covers everything. So if the camera's reading, say 10,000 plates a day, and the battery and the setup that configuration they have for it doesn't work, and it's always low, Flock will come out and put another battery at their expense on that camera to make sure that camera is operational 24/7. So
That 3,000
Yep.
includes the installation and the pole and everything?
yeah, everything. So
And you mentioned I thought you said you can actually take the camera and redeploy it, like put it on a trailer or something?
yep. So that is the Falcon. The ones that they put on the pole, that's called the Falcon, and then the Falcon Flex is the one that we currently have. And we purchased that camera to start because we wanted to move it around and get results. And it pretty much stays in Mansalona right now because that's the only one we have, and then it is a severe problem. But the problem isn't anywhere. I talked to the guys at the department that are real proactive in the drug work, and just recently, like prime examples, we did buy bust here a couple of weeks ago. It was on the news. We purchased 113 grams of methamphetamine at the gas station in Mansalona, and the guy was driving a 2024 Tahoe. So it doesn't mean every drug dealer's driving a junk car. Like, it was a prime example to the young guys. Like, it's everywhere and it's anywhere. Currently, they're assisting me, and we're working with the DEA on another investigation on this side of the lake. That's the most I'll go into details on that one. But that one will, if it is successfully prosecuted and charged, it will go federal. So it is here. It is not going away. As in a career, when you work dope work, everybody says you'll never make it go away or you'll never win the war on drugs, but we will definitely inconvenience them.
Great.
So,
School will
your
be
time.
starting pretty soon, which is not a good sign to get kids back into school and having it available, and, yeah.
yeah, and just the effects of what it does to your body. I mean, I've interviewed a lot of people in the last year because I was part of the same task force team that we went to, Switcher Narcotics Enforcement, and everybody talks about they can't get away from the addiction. They can't get away from the addiction. But with drug crimes comes all the other crimes. You have the larcenies, the B&Es, because they're stealing stuff to trade it and buy drugs. And so in the last year, the reports are already showing it, like in Mansalona specifically, we've put probably a dozen to a half a dozen people either in prison or in a long-term jail sentence, and our retail frauds and our crimes have came down. So I've always been a big proponent of that. If you take the drugs and make the drugs go away, and the big dealers, the people are going out stealing stuff, stops. So.
Board,
Thank you.
any other questions? Sheriff? Deputy, thank you.
You want to?
Did you want me to call up Denise? She had questions about it.
Yeah, was it Denise that had
Yeah,
questions?
Denise Walker.
You can ask your one question of the deputy if you'd like.
This isn't really a question, it's public comment.
All right, we'll wait for the public comment then. Okay. All right. Andy, update on the planning commission.
Thank you. So last night we had another planning commission meeting, and the focus of that meeting was master planning and the work that's been ongoing. We are preparing for, well, a couple things have occurred. One, a community survey went out both electronically and by mail. So we'll be processing feedback that we received from that survey. We are also preparing for an open house on Monday, September 15th from 4 to 6:30 p.m. Encourage anybody and everybody to come. It's a great time to have open kind of dialogue about your interests and for the long-term plans for this community. We will have two zoning administrators here. There'll be all but one of the planning commissioners will be here, and it's a time for you to express your perspectives. So please encourage friends and family in the community to come by. I would say a couple other main things that came out of it were we had a really good dialogue last night, and you know the long-range plan that we put together for this community is only as good as the input that we receive. So if we don't get any feedback, if we don't get people coming forward, We're just going to have to make decisions based on what we believe to be the case. And that may not necessarily be the right decision. So the more input we can get, the better, the better output we can have for the plan itself. So real excited about it. And by the way, I'd say the other thing is that if in that session we don't get what we believe is a reasonable amount of input for the plan itself, then we will do another meeting. We've already committed that we're going to do what it takes to make sure we get as much input as we can. So that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mary, FOIA?
We did get a FOIA request yesterday, and we're just starting to look into it. So,
So you got a job done.
well, we'll see where
All
that
right.
goes. Yeah.
Good. Financial overview. As I've mentioned before, our revenue stream does not pick up until December. So we will continue to incur monthly losses in our operating statement. In addition, we have incurred some expenses that were not planned or came in higher than expected. The general fund was favorable to budget as revenues were higher by 19,000 and expenses lower by 27. Expenses reflected 12 cost centers that were under budget for 59,000 and 7 cost centers which were over budget by 32. Details can be found online in the special report financial section under line item details file. The fire fund was still negative due to the unbudgeted down payment for the new fire pumper truck and some capital expenditures that were done at the 2 fire stations. We will be moving some of the expenses to the ambulance fund as those are shared budget dollars for those costs. The ambulance fund was slightly unfavorable due to a budgeting revenue before December. Expenses were under budget, but should be close to the budget after making the expense transfer. The road fund was unfavorable due to the payment for completion of work that was earlier than anticipated. We will be under budget for the road expense this year. Again, if you have any questions, you can feel free to call me or the clerk's office for details. Moving to the next item, the agenda, we have no old business. We now have one new item. That is a motion to request a speed study on Northwest Torch Lake Drive. I spoke to Bert Thompson and had a meeting with a couple of citizens this past week. And I've had 2 phone calls related to the speed that drivers are driving on Northwest Torch Lake Drive. There's a new law in place that allows townships to initiate requests for the reduction in speed limits, but we are required first to have a speed study done. The issue is that it's the timing of when they do that speed study. So if we pass this motion tonight, then I'll work with Bert Thompson to figure out the times to get the speed study done for us. Any discussion on that item? All right, hearing none, I will make the motion to request Antrim County Road Commission conduct a speed study on Northwest Torch Lake Drive, the date to be determined. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded to request Antrim County Road Commission conduct a speed study on Northwest Torch Lake Drive, date to be determined. Any other discussion on the motion?
Bob, a quick question. Is there a cost to the township for this, or do they do it at their cost?
At this point, it's the county that does it, but if I have to throw some bucks to get it at the appropriate time, we'll have to do that. Because I'm not having them do it in November. And that was the last time they did it.
Right.
So it's probably a next year project, but the idea is to get ourselves on the list. All right, no further discussion. Mary, will you conduct a roll call vote, please?
Sharon,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
me, yes.
Great, thank you. All right, moving to board discussion.
Can we take a break and see Zeke real quick?
Sure. He's much more interesting than his board meeting, so.
Zeke and I were in a lot of parades together this year.
Thank you.
So I'll say that everyone's aware, if you're not aware, this is Canyon Zeke. He's been making his way around the community. I got Zeke in May, beginning of May. We went to Northern Michigan Canine down in Harrison. Zeke is from Columbia. That's where he was born. He was then moved up into Tijuana, Mexico, where the breeder and the trainer that we use has an indoor facility. He was trained there and then brought to the United States in the beginning of April when I picked him out. He is a dual-purpose narcotics dog. He's trained in narcotics detection, tracking, article search, apprehension, and villages. So he goes home with me every day. He's fully funded by donations, and he enjoys working. So if you don't work on him every day, he is Mr. Crazy. He's always ready to go. So.
He was in all the parades this year too.
Yeah, he's a Delta Malinois. He's every 2 in November. So.
You get to keep it for forever?
Yeah, so the way the county has the agreement set up, the sheriff's office, at the end of his life, when he either determined he's ready to retire or for whatever unseen circumstance that he needs to retire, there's an area with the county as soon as basically the sheriff and I come to an agreement that he needs to retire, he is turned over his own expense to the So
What's this cycle for his appointment, so to speak?
typically a working dog is, you can be anywhere from 6 to 10 years. Obviously, he'll be 2 in November at the Scour, so I plan to work him until he's probably 8 or 9. So at that point, for what he does every day, the amount of working dogs save the lives of police officers and find drugs, they deserve it by the time they get that age. He works every day. We don't have a Saturday or Sunday that we don't work. He goes and does something. So.
Does he interact with Bricko too?
He does. Yep. So we train. We have 2 training days a month. He trains every day, but those are the 2 required training days in the department. So, any questions?
Thanks, Zeke.
Thank you for your time.
He's going to be a small horse. All right, we've got, for board discussion, we now have 3 items. The first one's pretty easy. At the last board meeting, I was tasked with coming up with office hours. I worked with Mary and Sharon to do office hours between August 1st and October 31st. We'll get together and we'll talk about winter hours because the workload really goes down at that time. I want to just put it out there with the schedule so everybody has it. We've published it in Constant Contact, and it was posted on the web, and it's out in the post office and on the doors here. A lot of the times we've got in there that call for an appointment so that people aren't sitting around doing nothing. So we're available to you, but if, as you look at the schedule, feel free to call us and we'll set up appointments. In the 4.5 years that I've served as supervisor, I've had 1 appointment. So feel free to give me a call and visit now and then. Next item is.
Wait, Bob?
Yeah.
Real minor thing. First of all, I think the posting the office hours is great, so it looks great. I only had 1 question. I don't know if it's just my reading of it, but if you look down the Monday column, you look at the clerk and it says after 2:15 to 5.
Right.
Is it after 2:15 or is it after 5 or is it between 2:15 and 5?
Between 2:15 and 5.
So I think it should just say hours 2:15 to 5 because it's, to me, I had to read it 3 times and I'm misreading it.
Well,
I figured it was 2:15 to 5, but
the good thing is you read it.
I did.
All right, we'll fix that. All right, the next item is truly becoming a problem for us. Short-term rentals are becoming a fairly prevalent issue in the township. We're having larger number of homes that are appearing in VRBO and Airbnb within the township. I spoke to Sarah as to how we might better enforce the ordinance that we have. The township expects us to enforce it. Right now, based on the language, short-term rentals are allowed in the villages, Eastport and Torch Lake, but a special use permit is required from the Planning Commission. Otherwise, the rentals have to be 30 days or more. Now, I've asked Bob Hawkins to take 5 minutes so that the board has an idea of what it's like to go out and do an investigation on a short-term rental. Bob, you want to join us, please?
So we are presenting a few procedural problems when we go out to do these. Number one, we don't have the authority to actually, snoop around and photograph on the property. You may get permission from one of the neighbors to get up on their property and photograph or observe. On the few times that I have gone up to a door, knocked on a door and asked, the general story is that, well, we're friends of the family. I think it's something that they've gotten to know to do. We're friends of the family and we're relatives. There's no way to prove it except when we get calls from the neighbors who see different people there all the time. And a lot of times the call is prompted because there's some bad behavior going on. They're not being good neighbors. They're being loud and late at night and just doing things that, a lot of traffic in and out. So without having an ordinance really with some bite to it and a way to empower you to go in and investigate this stuff, our hands are tied behind our back to really do anything about it. The only time that I was successful at ferreting out one was they started with a line, well, we're friends. And I said, well, okay, but we've had reports that there are squatters in the house. And you need to prove to me that, you're here. Otherwise, we're going to have to involve law enforcement. And they said, oh, yeah, well, we're renting. They broke down and admitted it. But that's the only time. And, that was some years ago. So I'm not sure what is the penalty in the ordinance.
It's like
now, Bob?
$50 a week or something.
Yeah, it's pretty inconsequential compared to the money, that they're making from these things. So anyway, I'm not going to ramble on about it. There are some problems trying to enforce this. One might be just the empowerment of, as an ordinance enforcement officer, you don't really have a lot of legal power to go do anything. Perhaps a constable or a sheriff's deputy would, but that's got to be a low priority thing for those guys. They're pretty busy with other important stuff. So I don't know. You have a task in front of you. I wish I had better advice for you. I've given you some problems, but really no good solution to any of this stuff. So
No, that's helpful. The idea I wanted you to speak about it is that it's not an easy task to go out here and approach people and they are not willing people to talk to you. And so it's not putting you or anybody else that we have in the township that wants to volunteer to do something like that. We're putting them potentially in danger, and it doesn't make any sense.
perhaps, because we've had some issues at the park and the boat launch too, where, we've tried to intervene and get involved. And on the few times I've asked for identification, of course, they say, are you a police officer? Well, no, I'm not. And they say, well, just, take a hike.
Well, you've had to call 911
We
a
have
couple
had
of
to
times.
call the sheriff's department out several times.
Yep. And we're seeing other things down at the nature preserve in which a lot of more garbage and people not really caring about it. And we have 2 public access to lakes that people want to go to, and not all of them have a lot of respect for what we're providing for these people.
Yes, and I would say that, the vast majority of them are nice people and they're respectful of the area. but the few don't really, there's enough of them that they really make a problem, a big mess down there that needs constant attention.
All right. Well, thank you, Bob.
Okay.
Bob,
Yeah.
this is Bob. Didn't we send letters to the homeowners in the past if a neighbor complained about it and questioned them?
Well, if the neighbor complained, if they didn't complain, and again, in 4.5 years, I've had 2 complaints. And they were like 2.5 years ago, down on Northwest Torch Lake Drive.
Because I just got one recently, the email that I sent to everybody about
Yep.
a complaint.
But that, we don't get very many. And so again, we're trying to enforce an ordinance that, the people aren't cooperating if there are problems. And if we get a couple, then we do the best we can to try to get the information out to issue the ticket.
Because I know in a few years past, we sent a lot of letters out, questionnaires and so forth. So I don't know if we're still doing that or not.
Now, at this point, not, but that's now part of the rest of my little story.
Okay, thank you.
It's like the Harvey moment.
Okay.
So the rentals in the past did not have the services to list their properties as they do today. I mean, they have a number of different sources. Rental rates have also escalated to the point people don't care if you want to fine them $50. I mean, some of the rents that we're seeing in the township are $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a week. Those people aren't going to care if you want to give them a violation for $50. Our issue is the ordinance has to be enforced somehow. So one of the potential actions that Sarah and I talked about was we would hire a separate staff person to monitor this particular service for all the homes that get listed for Torch Lake Township. Now, part of the problem is a lot of the listings are for Torch Lake, and they don't necessarily tell you what township it's in.
Right.
A lot of the townships in the south end are getting a lot of these rentals, but they're moving north. If you go out there, I went out there on 2 investigations with the addresses, drove by the property, and they were dark, so you have no idea. But when I went to sign on for Airbnb, if you sign up for that particular address, then they want you to pick dates. And once you pick dates, now they want you to give them your credit card so that they can run it for a deposit. Well, I wasn't going to give them my credit card, but that's the extent. So as a board, we've got to decide the amount of money we want to invest in trying to control the short-term rental. The service that Sarah has pointed out is roughly $5,000 for the season, which would be roughly May through October. We figure another $5,000 for a person for those 3 or 4 months to do the research, the investigation, the follow-up. Part of that would be going to you, Sharon, so that we'd have the address, we'd need the property owner, we send a letter out, tell them that you're going to be monitored, and do the best we can. But I would say, as a ballpark figure, we're talking about 10 grand for a 4-month period. So I raise this because, well, the problem probably is going to decrease as we get into fall, but it's going to come back in April and May. And on top of it, we've got all the horse people down in Acme and over in Petoskey. And so trying to find rentals, it's pushing them towards us, especially with it being Torch Lake. So I don't have a solution. I've got some ideas that I've laid out, but the idea here is get your thoughts, what you think the township needs to do or you would want to have done, and then we'll have to plan for it at the budget next year. So I open it up to the board.
Did you talk to Sarah about raising the fine to maybe offset the cost? I mean, do people pay the fine and how do you enforce that?
Well, that's part of the problem, is that as a municipality, we can only fine up to a certain amount, which is like $300 or $400 max. We did that with the fire lane, and we had a $500 fine there, and the first person that challenged the ticket, the judge said, well, your municipality, 500 is felony, and you can't use $500. So we have some restrictions. I've got to call into Todd because there has to be some ways legally that we could do it, but the problem is if the person doesn't pay it, we go to court. And so now not only are we investigating it,
Paying legal.
we're now paying legal fees to try to collect $500. And so I'm kind of chasing my tail at this point. It's nice to have the ordinance, but unless we can get some kind of increase, and that's what I'm trying to get to find out, if there's a different way of going after this. Township doesn't have that much authority to levy those types of fines that would make a difference in this particular case.
So Bob, I think, well, certainly for all the reasons you just described, that the fines, given the limitations of what we can impose, and even if you could impose a higher amount, the issues of going to extract it, I think we have to explore some other way. And I'm glad you mentioned Todd. I think two things. One, A, does he have any ideas? And B, we can't be the only township that has this problem, whether statewide or nationally, that has issues. And so, it'd be worth to see if there's any other creative options out there that other townships or communities have used to try to control something like this. Maybe we are truly unique, but it doesn't seem like that would be logical.
Well, we're going,
We'll find
they're
out.
doing, I talked to people from Helena Township, and they have no short-term ordinance, but they want one. They asked me, what are the lessons learned? I said, one, you can't have a very high fee. Number two is trying to police it. Number three, ending up in court and costing you more money. And these people are collecting $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So they don't care if they pay a lawyer $1,000 or $500. So
And the
I don't have
legislature,
an answer yet.
and the legislature changes a lot because we come very close to eliminating short-term rentals throughout the entire state. So that's a back and forth issue amongst MTA and all townships in Michigan that's going back and forth, back and forth. It's come very close to passing to eliminate short-term rentals. So that's been back and forth. That's a hot topic that still hasn't gone away there either. So we could pass anything you want, and in 6 months from now, the legislature can change everything. So it's always something you got to always keep being full of.
The real estate realtors, no offense to
Yeah.
to board members, they are pushing the agenda to get rid of short-term rentals because they're looking at rental income by people
Fees.
buying houses. I mean, we get people calling me and saying, I've got a person interested in a house in Torch Lake Township. Do you have short-term rental restrictions? I mean, they don't ask if it's on the water or not. They just want to know what the restriction is.
And
So,
we are kind of unique because there are many townships that have short-term rentals already and proposals and fees that they collect. And so if you were to go and scope it out, we're not a majority, we're a minority of the way we're.
I mean, to your point, one of the options might be, do we try to license? I'd have to talk to Todd and say, hey, do we issue licenses for people to do it and hold them to some kind of standard? And does that give us some leverage on a legal way if they don't adhere to it? Now, we do that primarily in the village sectors with 30 days having to be approved by the planning commission for that certificate. We could try that path, and I'm going to talk to Todd to see what that would encompass. But the idea is the short-term rentals aren't going to go away.
No,
And the only thing we can do is try to control it. And then if we can control it, leverage some way to make something off it. And I hate to say it
think our
that way, but I think that's fundamentally what we're looking at.
I think our neighbors to the south have had ups and downs, peaks and valleys with their short-term rental and changes along the way from when they started too. So
So go ahead.
So you said Sarah has a business or something there for 5,000 a year?
Yeah, there's a service that you can,
That'll look up.
will look up your community, and then it will constantly tell you this lot, this property has come online, this is in such and such Airbnb or whatever, and it gives you the address, and then we can go back and find who the property owner is.
And then what?
Well, then you can only send them a letter and say,
That's-
basically, the letter says, hey, you're advertising, it's against the ordinance.
I get that. It just seems like 5,000 is a lot of money to pay
Well-
somebody that we can't even enforce.
Basically, it's 10,000 because you've got to pay somebody to take that information and then,
Didn't our assistant zoning administrator used to look that stuff up, if I'm not mistaken?
yeah, 3-4 years ago. And it lasted a couple of months because, you're going through those sites. We didn't have that service, so they're going through and trying to figure out Torchlight, all right, is it in our township? Is it in Milton? If they don't give an address, how do you find it? So basically, I just kind of want to bring it to the board's attention. I'm going to look with the lawyer if there's something we can do, but also to tell people in the township, it's a growing problem. We're going to try to address it, but there's a lot of loopholes that make it difficult for us.
It is interesting that, the problem that exists, really, I guess maybe I'm just kind of brainstorming here, but it's maybe less about the fact that it's short-term rentals and more about the fact of behaviors of certain people that are in those short-term rentals. Right? I mean, if everybody that did a short-term rental behaved in a way that was quiet and peaceful and everything like that, and didn't disrupt, didn't leave trash, didn't do all the things, you wouldn't get complaints and you wouldn't get
Right.
the issue.
Right.
So, is the enforcement, is there a potential of, instead of trying to enforce not having short-term rentals, worry less about that and more around trying to do certain other ordinances like noise and, any other things that could control the behavior or try to impact that and focus our efforts there, whether it's short-term rental associated or not.
Well, I think noise ordinances are very difficult.
Yeah.
Because we've got a fireworks ordinance, right? Well, by the time you can call the sheriff's on 911, it's not an urgent, it's an ordinance. We spent 6 months passing that thing, I think in my first year. And I think we've cleaned up some of that stuff. But if somebody's firing off fireworks, it's pretty difficult. I've tried to get in the car and find it. It's next to impossible. By the time I run around the lake to get on East Torch Lake Drive, they're done. So the option that I'm kind of leaning towards is a license like we do for short-term rentals in the village. And then have a fee associated with that with a set of guidelines, which maybe give us a little more, I hate the word police power, but have more ability to control that situation.
So when you say the village, you mean the same place that already allows short-term rentals with a permit?
They allow 30 days, but.
But I
less
mean,
than
these
30 days.
places that we're seeing on the sites are not necessarily in the village.
Oh, I don't think any of them are in the village. Most of
So
them are
why
on the
couldn't we
lake.
do that for our whole township?
That's
Effectively
what
what I
you
think
said
you're
the
saying. I
village.
think that's what the licensing process would essentially allow.
I'm saying that would be the alternatives to extend what we're doing in the villages for the whole town.
Right.
But basically what you would be doing is taking away what we've had as no short-term rentals and now opening it up and saying, we're going to allow it, but here are the guidelines that you have to follow, and see if in fact that helps us on a legal basis to enforce it better. And that's what I got to find out from Todd.
Gotcha.
It's an
Yeah.
interesting concept, though.
Sure.
Just a brief comment. We got this survey coming out, and there will be questions about short-term rentals. It'd be interesting to see what is said there, and we have time to look at that, correct, Andy? I mean, we'll be able to look at that, so, I mean, not that.
Well, clearly, because we're not going to be
It's not
solving
gonna-
this problem
It's
anytime
not going to
soon.
determine one way or the
Right.
other or anything, but just the feedback is what I was.
All right, well, I'll follow up with Todd and I'll report back at the next board meeting. Last item, I've asked the fire chief to spend 5-10 minutes with us to kind of give us an overview of his thoughts on the strategy of ensuring that we have a steady stream of, no pun intended, steady stream of firefighters for our volunteer fire department. We've got the best in class equipment. We've got to keep the best in class people serving it.
Okay, addressing that issue, this is not unique to our area. It's nationwide. There is a shortage of firefighters. With that said, one article that I came across said that the state of Michigan itself has some of the lowest staffing levels in the Midwest per capita. They said we had about 50 firefighters per 100,000 people. Okay, we have discussed this at the chiefs meeting. This came up a couple of times. Other chiefs have tried different scenarios to gain more members on their departments. They have not been successful with that. So we are continuing with what we refer to as automatic mutual aid. They've done this in the past. They're continuing to do it now. That is if like there is a situation in Milton Township where there's a residential fire, all three fire departments, Elk Rapids, Milton, and Torch, are simultaneously paged out at the same time to cut down on response time. And that assures us that we have enough personnel on scene and equipment to mitigate the situation at hand. With that said, the state had a bill earlier this year, it was House Bill, I think 5432, that was going to address staffing shortages in the state of Michigan. It died in committee. The problem I had with that bill, it only addressed the full-time firefighters. They forgot about the paid on-call part of the firefighters. Right now, there's two other bills in committee. One of them is going to, for an incentive, it has something to do with tax incentive, tax deduction for firefighters, for first responders, I think all the way across the board. I don't know where that's at right yet. I have put in, I contacted John Roth's office over this issue. I have not received a reply back from his office yet, but I assure you by this time next year, he's going to know who I am and what department I'm affiliated with. I am also going to have a conversation with our new state fire marshal, Thomas Hughes. He assumed that position earlier this spring to discuss the situation and our options on which way to go. For our department, we had a little bit of more public appearances this year. It went really well. I plan on doing that more next year as they come available. It gives us opportunity to do fire prevention and recruitment at the same time. I plan on trying to have an open house this year during Fire Prevention Week so the public can come in, they can look at the equipment they have, they can talk to us about the fire protection, and that will also give us maybe a chance at recruitment opportunities there. The other thing that I've done earlier this year, I became a certified fire instructor 1. That allows me to teach. My goal for next year is to challenge the instructor 2 level instructor. That way I will have more of an administrative role. I will have to develop the curriculum and I will have other people helping with that. But what that does is I can have classes here at the Torch Lake Station 1. A lot of the things I get the feedback from, a lot of the problem comes with the training, that people do not want to commit to the training that's required by the state of Michigan. We have to have the same level of training on the paid on call department as a full-time department. We have to have the same training, same certificates to operate. And a lot of that is not mentioned. That's like 280 hours to be a firefighter in this state. And they don't account the travel time. Because if somebody was going here to the college in Petoskey or to the regional training facility in Grand Traverse, that's 50 miles each way. And some people say it's like trying to work 2 jobs and raise a family at the same time. It's not possible. So they may want to do it, but they can't. So I figured it might be the opportunity to lighten that a little bit by having the classes here. That way we could recruit maybe some people that say, hey, you know, I can at least drive to the township building. I don't have to drive 50 miles. Might make it more appealable to them. I don't know, but I'm going to give it a try. And that way, that would affect Central Lake, Banks Township, Milton Township, and our township. So we're trying to figure this out. But right now, we have 11 on our roster, and that's pretty darn good. For some of the fire departments here within the county are really hurting. And that's why we have that all mutual aid. But there's plenty of options out there, I guess, but we're going to keep moving ahead and trying to find out the best way to go. The state, like I said, they're moving, but they're, as well known, sometimes they move slow. That's why I want to keep in contact with the state representative and with the fire marshal on this issue. That's about all I can tell. If you have any questions, I try to answer them.
Board, any questions for Kevin?
I got John Roth on my phone. You want his number?
I got his number, and I know he's got an office in Traverse City. And I might show up unexpected one of these days, you know. But this is something that's been on my mind because, you know, it's a service that we provide for the people of the township. And we can do all we can do on the fire side to get people to come. But the township, the residents have to have a willingness to participate and help, you know. And I understand the difficulties with managing time, because to get where I'm at right now, I pretty much went through hell and back because of the courses, the time put in, the homework, and I still have to update and take things as it goes. Just like next year, if I challenge the Instructor 2 course. I was involved in Firefighter 1 and 2 class in Kalkaska this year, and that went really well. I enjoyed that. There was people from all over the area, but that's the first time the Kalkaska Station 8 had put on a Fire 1 and 2 class since, and I think they said 15 years. And now Elk Rapids, they have them occasionally, and that's an opportunity that makes it close, but I'm more concerned about firefighter retention in this area and for our department. Because the way I look at it, you know, we work hand in hand with EMS, and there's a shortage of dispatchers, police officers, paramedics, EMTs. It's just not exclusive to the fire service. There is a big shortage. And the things that scares me the most is that if all of us was quiet for 60 seconds in here and not said a word, and then think about that when you're dialing 911, if nobody answers and it's just silence. To me, that's unacceptable.
Great, thank you.
So,
Any
Chief, I have a quick question for you. And I'm glad you mentioned the EMT aspect of it as well, because I was curious if the same, you know, maybe the challenges on the fire side are the same as on the EMS side. It sounds like they're equally challenging. And
It is.
it is. And, you know, I've been thinking about this quite a bit lately because associated with the planning commission work and the long range planning that we've been doing, and thinking about, you know, what does this community look like 10, 15, 20 years from now? How does all this stuff come together? And this is a community and the population continues to age. It seems like it's not getting any younger. It doesn't seem. And then the cost of living keeps going up. And so there's going to be more pressure that the average age continues to go up, which means it's almost like a retirement community. You know, there's a lot of people, and I personally plan on retiring here. My wife does, and we plan on being here for the long haul, and we want to have and make sure that the support services are still growing along with it. So I was thinking about that and realized that our our current master plan, and I think what we put into that needs to make sure that the specifics aren't going to be there, that the broad stroke is that the community remains committed to the support and providing the resources that are necessary, both from an equipment and, a supply, and then also for labor to support them. So, and I think we just need to work in partnership to, what does it look like if we do struggle with, at times in the future, of being able to staff those people? What can we do creatively to get that done?
Yeah, you're
So-
right on that. Part of what we refer to as risk assessment. That's what we normally would do, look at the hazards within the community and see if we had enough personnel to mitigate if something happened there. And the demographic profile of the community, and the age brackets and things like that all goes into that, plus the fire reports. You have to go back and kind of review them also to get a staffing level number. But yeah, we're trying. There's other things that we have that we're looking at. I've talked to Mike Bertram about it. We haven't come to a conclusion yet, but there's other things because there is a need within our township. My biggest thing is, we have to be there for the residents, and they support us 100%. I'm very thankful that they do. And so that's why we want to be able to respond effectively and as fast as we can to any call within the township or when we get a call from mutual aid, because one thing, it's a very rewarding experience. I've been doing it for over 30 years now, and there's nothing like it. I like helping other people. I've always done that. That's why I got into it. And it's a great feeling when you actually can accomplish something, and as part of us as Ted and I administrators for the fire department, that's part of our job is to plan for the future and get more people in here. So when we're ready to leave, they can just a smooth transition into that type of job so they know what they're doing. So that we're trying to stay on it. So if the board at any time has any questions, feel free to contact us or contact Bob, and then he'll contact Ted or myself.
Great.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right. Next item is information only. We have nothing. So citizen comment, we can start with that.
All right, we'll start with Denise Walker, license plate readers.
Do you want my address and all of that, or?
That's up to you.
If you want to
Okay.
give it.
Well, 5951 North M88 in Central Lake. I want to voice my concern about allowing the license plate readers to be installed in our township. I really appreciated the presentation. I definitely appreciate our sheriff's department and their diligence to keeping us safe. My caution is that at this time, the technology that is being used with these devices is there really aren't the guardrails that I would feel safe in terms of where the same information is going, how long is this information being stored. And particularly when I was researching this, the company Flock that they're dealing with has had issues in other states. It is being widely used, but the information, the data that they're collecting is far reaching. It's in a way that they create a really individual, more intimate picture of, they have the possibility, the capability, I should say. And like I said, the guardrails aren't in place. And I feel like it's a form of profiling that I don't want to support. And we don't, like I said, we don't know how long this data is being stored. We don't know who this data is being shared with. And even though our sheriff's department is with all good intent, once it goes into the system, then that's where my concern is. So, and also when the tech advances are being made and the technology within the devices, provides enhancements, maybe it's beyond the original agreement of use. So my ask is please proceed with caution. I really appreciate my own personal privacy, and so I would hope that we don't adopt this at this point.
All right, thank you. We'll let you respond later, Deputy. All right, next.
Elizabeth Callett, did I say that right? Where'd she go? For the Naquima Trail? Did I say that right? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's my handwriting. Elizabeth Calcutt. Hi,
Oh,
I'm-
Calcutta.
Yep, I'm with Tart Trails. I'm Trail Development Director and also Project Manager for the Naquima Trailway. And just want to share that we had a great Talking Trails event this evening at the Torchlight Cafe. We had 50 people show up, which was fantastic to learn and hear an update on trail planning efforts and show their support. And we continue to work with our resident trail champions. We've got Kristen and Denise here, and a much larger group to help build the foundation for developing trail in Torch Lake Township. And a few of these trail champions met with and Bob this summer to discuss the role of the township in supporting future trail development and what that looks like. And we're excited to continue those conversations. Meanwhile, Tart Trails in Top of Michigan are working on securing a new engineering contract that'll help us work towards a construction goal of 2028. So we are taking the design that was approved by the board in 2023, December 2023. We're looking to extend it into Milton Township to find out where really the safest points to cross will be, recognizing that US 31 people will want to get across, but trying to minimize that, and then finalize our alignment and our engineering over the next year plus. And also just want to thank the master planning process to help us inform our trail and the property at the intersection of 31 and Barnes Park Road. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right,
David Christensen for board policy.
Sitting for a long time is not easy. I appreciate what you're doing. Good evening, I'm David Christensen. I've lived in Torch Lake Township since 1998 and currently reside at 134 Northwest Torch Lake Drive. Bob, Sharon, and I have exchanged several emails this month, and I wanted to get these email conversations on the township record. These emails appear to say that the board has adopted a policy to ignore board policy. As I stated in my August 7th email to Bob and Sharon, my concern is not with the need for new carpeting in this building. My concern is that the purchase did not follow the process spelled out in board policy. I'm also concerned that the board members present did not speak up to question the amount or why the board policy was not followed. Policies are important for any organization, but for government, they are essential. They hold government officials, including board members, accountable to their constituents. Policies ensure compliance and show effective governing. They are created to provide transparency and show responsible management, reduce ambiguity, and the potential for bias. Unfortunately, this board failed to follow their own policy in regard to the purchase of the new carpet. As a result, it feels as if they aren't being transparent, aren't showing responsible management of funds, and are giving the appearance of impropriety. A budget, by definition, is a comprehensive financial plan that details the anticipated revenues and proposed expenditures of a governing body for a specific period of time, typically a financial year. Bob has tried to explain to me that when an item is included in the budget and the budget is approved at the annual budget meeting, it gives the board a blank check to proceed with a specific purchase. In this case, Bob stated that $15,000 was included in the budget for carpet replacement,
which actually exceeded $30,000. This, of course, leads to the question of how much research was put into preparing the budget. Nowhere in board policy does it mention that budgeting and purchases should be tied together. I am sure that over the years, Sharon has done much research into the carpet replacement. However, a purchase of more than $30,000 should have caused someone on the board to question why it was more than double what the board had budgeted and ask about competitive bids. Board policy is very clear in section 4.1B about obtaining 3 written quotes for contracts in excess of $5,000. It makes no exception for budgeted items, as Bob has stated to me on the August 8th email. Board policy also sets out procedures for requesting proposals from known vendors, which again, were not followed. Sharon stated in her August 5th email to me that she has talked to at least 5 different carpet places. There are highly qualified carpet stores in Antrim County that apparently were not contacted or were contacted many years ago, and the current management have no recollection of any contact. It appears as though it's just a rubber stamp board that does not question proposals or variations from board policy. No amount of spin or fabricated CYA policy can cover up the fact that you did not follow board policy and will have cost the township taxpayers thousands of dollars. Thank you.
Who's next?
Jairus Rubing.
Good evening, everyone. At our last county commissioner meeting, our Antrim County prosecutor gave his annual report, and he listed some goals for the new year. It's a few short sentences, so I'd like to read that for you. The other townships that I serve have appreciated it. We have a new prosecutor. He started around February. His name is Wilson Brott, and his goals are stated here. As your new prosecuting attorney, I have been very appreciative of the warm welcome I have received from the entire Antrim County staff. While I have learned a great deal over the past 6 months, I feel I am still learning how county government works. One major goal is to have fully addressed any remaining backlog of cases that were inherited when I took office as soon as possible. We hold ourselves to a high standard in terms of prosecuting cases, and we try to be as efficient as we can and to prioritize the cases that have the most impact on the lives of those in Antrim County, particularly drug cases and cases involving violence. It is also a goal of mine to provide legal training for our law enforcement partners and to improve our internal processes to be as efficient as possible. And I can tell you as a county commissioner that the amount of complaints I've received is significantly lower in the last 8 months than they have been in the first 4 years I was your county commissioner. So he's being very proactive at dealing with some of this, and it's also reflected in our numbers in our Antrim County Jail. Last year we had an average of 21 inmates, 17 males and 4 females, and this year our numbers have been in the mid-30s. So he's been proactive in prosecuting, especially some of these drug cases. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is that they have repaving scheduled for Barnes Park, and it's on the Antrim County website, the Antrim County newsletter that comes out. I believe it's starting September 11th, and it's going to take 10 to 14 days. The park will be closed during the day for those, and they're going to have some opening taking place again after that's completed for the fall, but just be aware. And then at our meeting coming up on Thursday, our Antrim County Dams operator, Leslie Myers, will be giving the board an update. She has been pretty active on looking at what is needed for updates to the Blair Dam. Also some other points along the Elk River chain of lakes. And I think she'll have some good information to share. So if you're curious, she will be giving the board a report, and as always, it will be live streamed.
Very good, thank you.
You have another new employee.
Yes, we have a new finance director. She will be starting, forgot the date,
It's coming up.
August 25th, I think it
Yeah.
is, our new finance director. So, yes.
All right, thanks.
All right, now we'll hear from Jemima Rubing.
Hello, my name is Jemima Rubin, and I'm from Banks Township. And for my schoolwork, I had the assignment to write down what I did this summer. And I get extra credit if I read it to you tonight. So I titled it What I Did This Summer. At the beginning of this summer, I went with my grandma, my mom, and my sisters to do our traditional flower shopping. This year, I planted my flowers in pots. I read a lot of books. I usually have 2 going at the same time. Double E. Thompson is a series that I enjoy. I like it because it has mysteries, and I also like historical fiction and fantasy, of which it has both. I also liked it because it was like The Great Brain and there were actually consequences for their bad actions. I went on a vacation with my older sister to grandparents' camp. We spent one of the days at my great uncle's place where we went swimming and boating. Grandma also took us shopping, and of course, we played with our cousins, aunts, and uncles. I helped on the farm a lot, milking cows, feeding calves, and in general helping out. One of my other jobs is filling the footbath. The cows walk through it to keep fungus from growing between their toes. I helped my mom and siblings in our garden. I helped with the planting, weeding, picking, husking, and washing of produce. School started a week ago for me and my siblings. I like being homeschooled because my mom teaches me and she can teach me in ways that I on rainy days, I would do drawing, painting, or coloring. I like using acrylic and watercolor paints, and I like drawing my own pictures.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone
No,
else?
that's it.
That's it?
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I see another one here.
Oh, all right,
Hold
that's
on,
fine,
sorry.
we'll get to you.
Sorry, Kristen. Kristen Graves, Planning Commission Survey.
Hi, my name is Kristen Graves, and I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention, and I don't know where it needs to go from there, but earlier today, I was made aware that the survey that the Planning Commission had put together to be mailed out, that many were returned. I'm guessing from the stack that I saw, there's probably close to 600 that have been returned to sender. And so I just wanted to make sure, I think it's really important that that survey goes out. I'd like to find out why they were returned. And I'd also, it's not only a waste of our tax dollars in printing, but that survey was directly master plan. And I've heard everyone on this board tonight refer to that the master plan is driving possible questions that you guys might have with short-term rentals, with our safety, with our fire department, with various things. And I'm a little concerned too then, if that has come back, how is the general public going to know about this open house? So I know there are questions that you might not be able to answer tonight, but I want to make sure that we do find the answers. And I also want you to know I'm more than willing to help find a solution to that, because I think that the postcards need to get sent out properly. Thank you.
I was going to mention that for you, but that's all right.
One more. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Thank you. Susie Kelly, Golden Beach Drive. Just a couple of questions on the rental issue. Two of you, I'm not pointing fingers, but there were 2 on the board tonight that suggested this extra trash comes from renters. How do we know this? I mean, it isn't just renters that throw things away. I think possibly some of it could be, like you said, down around the boat launches and so on and so forth. Maybe there's not enough receptacles for this trash. Don't think for a minute that all of this trash just comes from renters. We are all guilty of trash and taking care of it. What?
Pull it
Can't hear me?
closer to you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There you go.
Anyway, that's about the trash question. And what is 1 week versus a month? Why? I mean, if you're still going to have people in there, correct? If you rent it for a month versus 4 weeks, there's still going to be people there.
Well, I think I was pretty clear. We've got a lot of work to do on this.
Oh, I
so-
understand. There's just some things that I'd want you to maybe think about. This is the way I see 1 week versus a month. If I were a neighbor and I didn't like that person that was in there for a weekly rental, or maybe they had 6 kids and they were noisy, I would look forward to that Friday that they're going to be gone. But if that same family was there for a month, I'd probably hang myself. You know, I mean, let's face it. What difference does it make? It's up to the property owner, the one that has to flip that every Saturday and keep it going. That's where the hardship falls, is on the weekly rentals. When you get somebody in there for a month and you don't like them, or your neighbors don't like them, I'm sorry, but you're screwed, because they've paid their money and they're going to be there for a month. It's just something to think about when you know, I mean, I've thought a lot of different scenarios, but those were
thinking
2
through
of
it.
my questions.
We're thinking through it.
I know, but everybody says monthly. Well, in all actuality, that would be only 2 months out of the year. School isn't out if they have kids until late June downstate or wherever they come from. And they've got to be back for football practice by mid-August. So it would be hard for anybody to probably get a full 2 months if, in fact, that's what they wanted to do with their property.
All right. Next point.
I'm thinking, I had it in my head a minute ago, but anyway, those were the 2 main things that I wanted to point out, that something to consider.
It's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Casey Wiggins. Short-term rental.
So my name's Casey Wiggins. I'm looking at 131 Northwest Torch Lake Drive. Is this on?
Pull it closer to you.
Is the green light on?
Yeah, he just needs to be closer.
Here we are. I think it's important, and the previous speaker mentioned it, that we understand the issue to its fullest as we start to figure out how to deal with it. And this is regarding short-term rentals. And I guess I've been looking at it for the last couple of months, and I'm a little concerned with a lot of the misinformation or misunderstandings about all of the issues concerning short-term rentals. I guess I'd like to talk about a couple of those tonight. One of the things is that we have more stringent penalties that have been placed by the most recent zoning ordinance that was just passed this last year. So I understand that while we may not be all familiar with it, but new zoning ordinance, about 140 pages down, it provides for $500 a day for violations, and every day that you extend that violation is a new day. So a 31-day violation where they did not leave the property is $15,500 for the month. And so there is a little bit more involved. On the other side of that, to contrast that, the property that got me interested in this, which is just down the road from my house, was renting for, on a monthly basis this summer, $5,050 a day. A $500 fine a day isn't going to bother them at all. There's another property a tenth of a mile down the way here that was listed last week for $3,500 a day. Both of those properties are listed, the owners are, as an example, Speedwing Investment Company LLC. This is not a residential operation. This is a commercial operation. So perhaps looking at these properties and how they're being run might be a different way to attack the problem. They're in R1 or R2, but they're commercial operations. Are they a hotel? Let's deal with them as a hotel. I understand it's difficult to monitor, but if we don't look, then we won't find out. And there are ways. I've started to look at some of the properties on VRBO, on Airbnb. There are property management operations in the area, Traverse City, and there are people there that we can go to who can be made aware of our restrictions. Maybe they aren't aware. If they aren't, then it's our fault. If they're aware and they're violating it, then we can go address that in a different way. It's a lot of work, but the problem is pretty good sized and it's getting worse. If you go down to Crystal Beach Road, almost all of the properties on that road from Torch River to Alden Highway are rental properties. And if you'd like to see what it looks like 15 years from now, if we don't do anything, that's a good place to take a drive. Thanks for your time.
Yep, thank you. Anybody else?
I don't see any.
Lori Coates, Golden Beach Drive. I just wondered if there was an update on the plan to do anything with the end of Cresswell Road.
There's been no update. We haven't gotten
You haven't
any
got
other
any-
quotes yet.
No quotes, but you have put out for quotes.
I've been working with Kevin on that. We had one and we had a person that was looking at it, never got back to us.
Oh, okay.
So there are not a lot of people that want to do a small job like that. So Kevin's looking.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Yep. I've got the deputy.
So there's a couple things I forgot to touch on when I was up here talking about flock. So it was brought up in public comment, so I'll address it to the board. So inside the flock program, obviously flock's not going to post this all over the internet for public knowledge. Inside the flock program, there's what we call an organizational audit. Every week I can go through and audit everybody that is in the department that has ran a plate. So for instance, to run a plate in the department, it is logged under who ran it, the reason they ran it, the time they ran it, the time frame, what cameras they selected to run the plate on. So there's an audit trail of everything. Also, there is what they call a network audit. So if we share our cameras with other police agencies, I can see every police agency that has ran a plate on our camera. So there is an audit trail. Just off what I looked the other day, since our camera's been in service, there's roughly about 150,000 plates that have been scanned in it. And the actual amount of plates that have actually been physically entered and run by our department is about 160. So like the percentage of what is actually being investigated out of that is very minimal. And then also the flock system, the great tool about it is in April, they integrated a system that we use as law enforcement. It's called Lean. That's basically a system that tells law enforcement your information based on your license plate information. So if you're driving in Antrim County and you have a felony warrant and it hits one of the cameras, we know about it instantly. And obviously those are people we do not want in our county.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sir, since we didn't have enough pieces of paper, we'll give you a shot.
Thank you very much.
My name is Glenn Christensen. I live at 11050 Barnes Road, which is right at the base of Barnes Road as it sweeps into Northwest Torch Lake Drive. I was curious if there is any sort of a noise ordinance in place, whereas when somebody's doing an excavation for a new home, I get dirt haulers constantly going by my house, and they do engine braking. And if you're familiar with that, it's well in excess of 100 decibels, and these trucks are going by all day long, back and forth in front of my house. I don't know if there's any place in the township where there are signs that are posted for no engine braking, or if it's something that can be addressed. I don't know if the deputy has any knowledge about what's allowable in terms of.
We had that come up last year,
Uh-huh.
and we have no way to enforce it.
Mhm.
And it was determined that we can't put a sign up there if we can't enforce it. Also, we'd have to get the county to approve that road if you're looking at Barnes Road.
Mhm.
This one was on 31, and of course, we can't do anything with the US highway. So we can talk to the county to see if we can do something on that, but I kind of think we're out of luck based on what we found last year.
Mhm.
I'll make a phone call for you.
I was curious.
Yeah, we don't have a noise ordinance, and again, it's an enforcement issue.
Mhm.
You can-
Maybe piggybacking on Casey Wiggins' opinion that a commercial operation maybe exists with some of these Airbnbs. Is there a possibility that the township can levy taxes on that income that these corporations are deriving from the sale as an impediment, or at least, hey, if it's a problem, let's get some money out of it?
That's exactly why I'm working with the lawyer.
Okay.
It's not going to be this board to make that initial decision. All right, board comment, Sharon.
I would just like to remind everybody to complete their survey. And I think we'll put it on constant contact for a reminder also.
Mary?
I just want to say that at the last meeting, I was tasked to reach out to Elk Rapids about their flock readers, and I did, and I talked to Chief David Centilla there, and he had nothing but good things to say about the flock readers. He pretty much said everything that you said, but one thing that he did say that you didn't mention was that it's kind of a long process. He said it took like 5 months to get it all set up, but it's totally worth it, and they could not be happier with it, so.
Oh, good. All right, anything else? Andy?
Just mention that it says here in a future meeting that the planning commission is meeting Monday, September 15th, which is the same day as the open house, but that meeting is canceled, and it's actually, the next planning commission meeting will be the week following, so it'll be September 22nd at 7 PM. So if people are wondering about that, just a change in plans because of the open house itself.
Yeah, we'll have to post that because it would be outside of the schedule that we've got. Jason?
Yeah. For the record, Bob and I did not coordinate what shirt we were going to wear tonight.
Mine's nicer, I guess, right? All right. My comments are brief. I'd like to thank Mr. David Christensen for taking the time to review township policies in his effort to point out an item that he feels we have made an error in our purchasing process. He correctly points out that section 4.7B of our policy requires 3 bids if the cost exceeds $5,000. What he failed to do was to complete the 4.7B section, which continues stating the 3 quotes shall be obtained unless there is only one supplier, or the township board approves a single supplier, or there is some other compelling reason. In the next paragraph, the policy outlines that a department head may request permission from the township board, waive the bidding process when there is only one known supplier, or there's a compelling reason, or the prior conditions stating the board can approve a single supplier. Based on the work that Sharon did, the board was fully understanding what the rules are, but we have a wide range of actions that we can take. And as an individual board, we decided that based on her work, her recommendation, the board agreed that we would sign that contract. So hopefully that clarifies the fact that the board did act within the full compliance of that ordinance. With that, I'll make the motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.